Ugh. I am sick and tired of that word resilient. Those were the pointed and honest words of Douglas Green, Charlotte's Jewish Community Relations Director, during a meeting yesterday morning. It was just a few hours after the deadly anti-Semitic attack in Washington, D.C., claiming the lives of 2 young Jewish peace builders. Our Zoom room transformed from a professional development training into a makeshift therapist's office as we tried to process what had happened the night before. And that's when Douglas uttered those words that I did not know I needed to hear. I am tired of that word resilient. Yes, we all agreed. We are tired of the word, and we are tired of being resilient. We are tired of being tough, tired of summoning strength we no longer feel, tired of putting one foot in front of the other when the road ahead seems lined only with more loss, with more violence, more reasons to grieve. I want more than anything to simply stop, to sit with the sadness, the rage, the helplessness, to allow myself to fully feel the sorrow, the despair, the sense of disorientation of this moment. But there's that voice in my head, and you might have it too, the one that whispers, be careful. What will happen if you open the floodgates? Will you be able to close them again? What if you won't be able to pull yourself back up? What if you fall apart completely? And so we invoke resilience again and again. We wear it like armor, like a badge of honor. But I'm beginning to wonder if we've misunderstood it entirely. You see, because we've treated resilience as a kind of numbness, as the ability to detach, to keep going no matter the cost, to push through the pain without ever naming it. We call it resilience when we dissociate from the violence and trauma unfolding around us, the attack in Washington, the unbearable wait for the return of hostages, anti-Semitic hate paraded in public as righteous speech, the devastation in Gaza, the ICE raids tearing apart families in our own neighborhoods, the ongoing dehumanization of our LGBTQ friends and family. And that's just the pain that's caused by the week's headlines. That's not even addressing the private grief each of us carries. A marriage in crisis, a parent in decline, challenges with infertility, a child struggling in school, the quiet weight of depression. It's too much. It just is. And like Douglas, I am done pretending that charging ahead, shield raised, armored fastened, is sustainable. I don't want to run toward the dragon. I want to sit by the fireplace in a big, comfy chair. I want to drink tea wrapped in a warm blanket and remember what it feels like to simply be human. But here's the truth I'm starting to see. I'm not tired of resilience itself. I'm tired of the way we've come to define it. Because real resilience isn't about suppression. It isn't about faking strength or swallowing sorrow. True resilience is feeling, honestly, deeply, bravely. It's standing in the fire of our pain and refusing to look away. It's allowing ourselves to grieve, to rage, to break open, because only through that raw confrontation will we ever be able to heal, to move forward, to grow. And I'm not sure we as a Jewish community have truly allowed ourselves to do this yet. I know I haven't. And I fear what might happen to us spiritually, emotionally, communally, if we don't start soon. If we continue to suppress the grief, fear, anger, and helplessness we carry, I worry that our grief might become a monster that haunts us. I worry that we might isolate ourselves, become callous, and harden our hearts to the point where we can no longer empathize. To illustrate what I'm talking about, I'm going to do this in classic Rabbi Erdheim fashion, which means I'm going to use pop culture, and I'm going to introduce you to two animated characters who also, like us, misinterpret what it means to be resilient. First, I want you to meet Keith the Grief Sweater. There he is. Keith is from the animated Netflix series Human Resources. Keith is an anthropomorphic sweater who appears to help people face the pain of losing someone they love. In one episode, he arrives to comfort Amir, a man whose mother is dying. But Amir isn't ready. Instead, he listens to a character who personifies logic and reason, who urges him to suppress his emotions, to power through with rationality and focus on caregiving rather than grief. And that is the path Amir chooses. He avoids, he compartmentalizes, dismisses, and in response, Keith, the grief sweater, grows larger and more aggressive, more insistent, until he becomes a monstrous version of himself, haunting Amir wherever he goes. It's not until Amir finally breaks, he finally stops, puts the sweater on, allows himself a good old-fashioned cry, and in that moment, Keith shrinks back to a normal size, wraps himself around Amir, and comforts him. It is only in that moment, only then, that he can return to his mother to be a whole caretaker, not as a shell of himself, but as a whole person, emotionally present and connected. This is one of the fears I have about what is happening to us. As a community, we are running from Keith the grief sweater. We've convinced ourselves that we can't afford to grieve. There's just no time. We have to act and organize and respond. We push down our pain and call it strength. But the longer we run, the more monstrous that grief becomes. We cannot heal. We cannot lead. We cannot transform this world unless we first allow ourselves to feel. We must stop, put on that warm, cozy sweater, and let the tears fall. The second character I want to introduce you to is Louise Belcher from Bob's Burgers. I heard that quiet yes. Louise is known for her fierce, unshakable exterior. And she's devastated when her family accidentally destroys her favorite toy. Rather than confronting the sadness and disappointment she feels, she retreats into a fever dream where she's trying to flee to an impenetrable fortress of solitude, a towering, isolated stronghold where she can shut out the people who hurt her. But this fortress isn't safety. It's a refusal to face her pain. Her anger becomes a wall that keeps out not just hurt, but love. And it's only when she lets the wall crumble, when she allows herself to be vulnerable and reconnect, that she's able to forgive and find her way back to the warmth of family. This too is a danger we face. That in refusing to sit with our pain, we may build our own impenetrable fortresses of solitude. That we might grow so hardened, so emotionally walled off, that we lose the very thing that makes us human, our capacity to care, to connect, to act with empathy. We risk becoming so detached, so numb, that we no longer see suffering as our concern. no longer feel the pain of our neighbors as our own. And in doing so, we risk losing our moral center. We stand between these two paths, between the monster of unprocessed grief and the cold, empty fortress of emotional isolation. Neither will serve us. Neither will sustain us. Only through feeling, fully and unapologetically, can we begin to find our way forward. Rabbi Hillel teaches, in a place where there are no humans, strive to be a human. When everyone around is callous, selfish, and cruel, we must dare to be compassionate, selfless, and kind. But in order to get there, we must be human in a different way. We must feel. To be human is to feel. To weep, to scream, to rage, to laugh, to love. If we cannot feel, we cannot empathize. If we cannot acknowledge our own pain, we won't be able to recognize it in others, nor be moved to act with compassion, justice, or love. So let us begin. Let us put on our grief sweaters and allow ourselves to cry. Let us tear down the walls of our fortresses of solitude and open our arms to embrace one another with tenderness, with honesty, with the fierce and fragile courage it takes simply to be human. O God, creator of our tears and laughter, the one who shaped our hearts to feel deeply, you did not make us to be unfeeling stone, but living souls, stirred by joy and sorrow, by rage and compassion, by hope and despair. So may we be resilient, not in spite of our tears, but through them. Not by shielding ourselves from pain, but by embracing the sacred truth that you placed within us, that to feel is divine, and to share our pain is holy. May we find strength not in silence, but in solidarity, in sitting beside one another with trembling hands and open hearts, in making room for grief, in honoring anger, in not rushing to fix what must first be felt. May our resilience be tender and brave, the kind that allows us to weep, to rage, to rest, and to rise again. And through this honest, human, holy resilience, may we grow in love for one another and for ourselves. Amen.